Hello there! Wow! Perfect! Wonderful! Well done!
Okay!
What's up, everybody? The Nintendo Beast here, jumping back into Let's Play Animal Crossing New Leaf here on the Nintendo 3DS. Let's load on in here. Should be all good to go. Oh, God, I forgot. I always... It's not been forever, Isabel. I need to find a better emulator or a better ROM for this game because it's super broken. It doesn't let me save and quit. So I just get yelled at by the Rosettis every time. My batteries on my computer died. At least he doesn't yell at you for as long as his brother Sonny Boy does. You know what? Let me snag my shovel quick and get to digging up fossils right out of the gate here. I always think like, oh, I'll just sign on as I'm signing on. But in this game, that doesn't really work because of the stupid frickin', you know, Rosettis. The Rosettis. Still flowers everywhere, dude. Oh, God. Is that... What do we think? Is that legit, or is that a... Oh, it's legit. Thank God. I wasn't 100% sure that it wasn't going to be a bamboo sprout. Anybody here today? Ooh, that was weird. It's glitched. My game is really glitched now. That's weird. Okay, but Katrina's here, so we can rack up another visit to Katrina, another fortune told, and inch her closer to moving in. Yeah, take a seat. I don't care about my stars being in Matrix. I actually have a burning distaste for, like, astrology. But I just want Katrina to move in so I can say that my main street in Animal Crossing New Leaf is finally complete. She is the last outstanding, business to move in. Yellow tartan shirt. This item will be the key to truly unlocking your good fortune. That's fine. I'm fine with having bad fortune as long as you move into town. And remember that bad times are just times that are bad. Okay, so I don't know what the count is now. There's no way to know. But I know we need to get at least 20 fortunes. Before she's willing to move in. Okay, so this is also legit. I want to step on it. I don't like wasting my time digging up frickin' pitfall seeds. If it's gonna be a pitfall seed, I'd rather just fall in it than have to dig it up and then, like, sell it or throw it away. Just a waste of time. I think the fact that... So, New Leaf was not my favorite Animal Crossing game when it released. That's a B. It was not my favorite because I played City Folk and I got ridiculously addicted to City Folk. And I still love City Folk. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But because of that, I felt that New Leaf was a pretty big, the Plaza for a fun day. Oh. I felt like it was a pretty big step away from the very, very simple and basic, Animal Crossing formula They added a lot of stuff, made it a little bit more complicated. And it definitely added a lot more things to do, but I feel like it took away some of that simplicity that I had grown to love in the Animal Crossing franchise. But then New Horizons came out, and I kind of feel the same about New Horizons as I did originally about New Leaf. But now that I play New Leaf, now that it's been, over a decade since it's released, I think I'm definitely starting to feel more nostalgia towards it. And if I'm feeling nostalgia towards a game like Animal Crossing New Leaf, that, like I said, I did not really like when I first... I mean, I never didn't like it. It was always a fun and a good game. But in comparison, I still preferred the basic nature and the simple nature of Animal Crossing City Folk. If I can feel some sort of way about Animal Crossing New Leaf, like I do, if I can start to feel this nostalgia now about this game, I feel like someday down the road, I'm gonna feel that same nostalgia for Animal Crossing New Horizons. And I think it's gonna hit different because of the way it released during the pandemic. I'm gonna do one at a time, like I always do, just to add drama, to add suspense to it. But I think, I think that Animal Crossing New Horizons, because it released during the global COVID-19 pandemic, I think that it's gonna hit different. Everything about it, I think we're gonna look back and be like, wow, remember that first year when that game just absolutely sucked, but we all put up with it and loved it anyway because we were forced inside and the whole global pandemic was happening and all that nonsense. I think it's going to go down in history and in our hearts and in our minds as Animal Crossing fans. I think it's going to go down as a very, very weird era, but I still think after everything is said and done, it's going to hold nostalgia. Sometimes I sign on to Animal Crossing New Horizons, admittedly, and I already feel some kind of sense of nostalgia because I just see things and I play things or like do things in game, and I think back to like, remember when I first got this game? Remember back in 2020? When I was first experiencing these holidays, and I was so hyped when we got the different holiday updates and whatnot. It was definitely a weird launch window. It was an incomplete launch window. It was something that we've never seen in the Animal Crossing franchise, and rarely see from Nintendo, period. Shipping, like, an incomplete game like that. Like, let's be real. Like, honestly, let's be really completely, keep it 100% here. And let's acknowledge what it was, because us as Nintendo fans and as Animal Crossing fans, we want really bad to say, first of all, we got none of those. We're 0 for 3 here. We want really bad to say that Animal Crossing New Horizons shipped and it was just a bad game, right? And it was just broken, there were things missing from it, and to some extent that's true, but in the reality of it, have you played any other games that are not on Nintendo Switch? Have you played Nintendo game, like first party games? I cannot list a single game off the top of my head, and I'm sure there are some, but just off the top of my head, I cannot list a single AAA game that released that was not a first party Nintendo property that didn't come standard with a day one patch. Like, they shipped the game months ago to get it on shelves by their deadline, and they continued to develop it. So, like, the actual game before that day one patch would be literally unplayable. That is not... And I think... I don't remember if there was a a patch or an update that came on day one with Animal Crossing New Horizons. I don't remember. But it certainly wasn't substantial. It certainly wasn't like this game is unplayable. And you look at games like Cyberpunk. I don't want to keep dragging Cyberpunk through the mud, because I think since its launch, it's gotten significantly better, right? But people still crap on Animal Crossing New Horizons based on what it was at launch, rather than looking at what it is today. If the game that we have today came out at launch, nobody would be complaining. But because we got it in gradual steps, it emphasized, it allowed us as players to put together an entire hit list of things that are missing from the game and that we want in the game. And certain things have not been answered yet. Like, there are still elements and characters that are missing from the game that we want to see. And the only reason there's such an emphasis on it is because we all put together our wish lists. In previous Animal Crossing games, like, nobody had a wish list with Animal Crossing New Horizons that was like, yeah, this was in the previous games and I hope it comes back and I'm waiting for it and I'm gonna say that it's an incomplete game until this comes. It just didn't happen. It was a different game, right? But because New Horizons shipped missing so many key elements that made it feel like an Animal Crossing game, that's why there was a focus on those things. And that's why we still look at it and act like it's an incomplete game, but it's not. The only thing people have to complain about now about New Horizons is basically just like quality of life updates. Would I love like things like bulk crafting? Absolutely. Would I love to be able to swim without, tapping the A button? For sure. Would I love if some of the holidays like Bunny Day weren't quite as tedious? Definitely. But all in all, the game is a complete game. And after everything is said and done, I think I probably would have to rank it at an S tier Animal Crossing game. I listed it in my my tier video as an A tier. After 2.0, I think I'd probably have to list it as an S tier. And if 2.0 launched as 1.0, and they just said, oh yeah, no, we're not putting updates out, here's the full game, it would have been an S tier right out of the gate, in my mind. And I don't think people would be nitpicking nearly as much if 2.0 was the base game. But because Nintendo gave us an entire year of an incomplete game and had every single Animal Crossing fan with a wish list this long, and then we're just like checking off boxes down the list as we went, there wouldn't still be people nitpicking and saying, yeah, this was added, but we're still missing this. You know what I mean? These characters still aren't part of it. And I think that's the bottom line, realistically. I think Nintendo shot itself in the foot, but also I think we all, to some extent, as fans, we need to step back, we need to shut up for a second and realize that the game that we got at 1.0 was not the worst. And it could have been worse, and there are so many games that launch so much worse. So, like, it was still, even at launch, on day one, it was still a first-party Nintendo game, which means it had that golden Nintendo. I mean, I don't think games have that anymore. No, they might. I'm not sure. I don't have a Switch case with me, but I don't know if they actually have the literal golden seal of quality from Nintendo. I don't know if they have that anymore. But when you buy a first-party Nintendo game, it's not gonna suck. There might be things that you don't like about it, like the new Paper Mario Origami King. A lot of people didn't like elements of it, like the fighting style and stuff like that. They changed up the combat. But it was still a great game. I loved it. I played it from cover to cover, but I played it all the way through. I loved every second of it. Yes, it was different, but I still loved it, and it wasn't broken. Like, it wasn't broken beyond repair or beyond playability, Nintendo games, first-party Nintendo games, never launch bricked. Other games, there are other games that launch bricked. Some of them, if they sell well enough, you'll get those repairs, and like a year later, maybe 2 years later, the game is more playable, or is playable. And then people are so willing, people are so willing to look at Cyberpunk now and be like, oh yeah, it's not the same game as it was on launch day. It's so much better. It's a real game now. And they are so willing to do that with so many games that they love, and yet for some reason, Nintendo fans, we just aren't willing to do that. We aren't willing to look at Animal Crossing New Horizons and, like, acknowledge the fact that, yeah, there were things missing. And I didn't like the way they rolled things, like, out the updates. But at the end of the day, it's a complete game, and it's an S-tier Animal Crossing game now. There are still things, for sure, that I'd like to see, but I'm not a greedy pig, you know what I mean? Like, as far as I'm concerned with New Horizons, I'm taking my time with it, I'm enjoying it, and 2 years later, what is it, 2 years later? 2 years later, it's 2022, right? I don't even know what year it is anymore, guys. But yeah, 2 years later, there's still stuff to do. I'm still working to complete my Critterpedia, my museum. I think a lot of people who have gripes against Animal Crossing, they're like, there's nothing to do in New Horizons. One, you probably never played any of the other games because there's more to do in New Horizons, just factually speaking. There's more to do in New Horizons than there has ever been in an Animal Crossing game. So just point blank, that's the thing. So if you're griping still, it's because A, you have never played a previous Animal Crossing game. B, your museum probably looks like crap. Your Critterpedia probably is incomplete. Your museum probably incomplete, but you don't care about that. You care about bells and making your island look cool, and now all of a sudden you're out of things to do because you're playing the new elements and you're not playing the existing elements. You're not playing to the quality of the game. And then C, the third option, that if you're still griping, it's probably because you did complete everything, but you probably time traveled to do it, or you spent you didn't do it casually, you went hardcore, and you beat it in the first year, you got everything done in the first year or so, and I'm sorry to tell you, but that's not the game's fault. You just spent an entire year, or an entire however many months, or whatever. Look at your game time. If you look at your game time and, like, time played in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and it's above, like, if you have hundreds of hours played into it, and you're like, there's nothing to do anymore, well, guess what? There has been things to do for the past hundreds of hours, so, like, what are you complaining about? What are you complaining about, really? Name one other game that you sink hundreds of hours into, and you're still not done. And I'm not talking about, like, MMORPGs. I'm not talking about, like, World of Warcraft, Rift, whatever, or League of Legends, like, online multiplayer. I'm talking about, like, oh, wait, I have a lost item I was supposed to check. I don't know if I did it. But name another game that's similar to Animal Crossing that you've sunk that many hours into and not completed it. Like, I'll wait. I won't actually wait. The answer is none. There are probably not many games. If any. And I guess that's my point. I guess the whole thing about it is just like, we gotta stop complaining, guys. As Nintendo fans, we gotta stop grumbling about everything. About a Nintendo Direct and not announcing what we wanted it to. And for, you know, a sequel that hasn't come out yet. And a delay on a game like Breath of the Wild 2. The Breath of the Wild sequel. It's gonna happen, guys. Chill out. You don't need it right this second. There are so many great games that are out. Check your back catalog. You mean to tell me you have played through and completed every single game that you own? You're lying. You're lying to yourself and everybody around you. Play the games that you have. Play once again through the games that you haven't completed yet, or you haven't played in a while. Revisit old games. I don't know what kind of butterfly this is. I'm gonna catch it though. Crap. Got it. What is that? A peacock butterfly. Oh, I guess I probably already have caught it. If you have a shortage of games, you're just not trying hard enough. That's that's the bottom line from yours truly, the Nintendo Beast. Oh, thank God it's his. So I can stop looking for him. But yeah, like, and other than that, like, try an indie game. Try an indie game. Look at some indie games, see if they have good reviews. If you need to find a game that has online multiplayer, go play some Fortnite. Go play some Fortnite if that's what if you're a child. I'm kidding. Real people play, not real people, but like adults play Fortnite too, I imagine. It's not for me, but my point is, like, if you're a child if you can't wait. Like, if you cannot wait, and I know, and that's not even fair to say, because I know children that can wait better than some of y'all. Like, chill out. Chill out. Let Nintendo do its thing. You're gonna get the games. You're gonna get the games you love. Name one game. You know, let me hear this. Let me know in the comment section below a game that you've been waiting for forever, and it's just not, and you know for a fact it's just not coming. Or it's just, like, hasn't been announced yet. Like, don't tell me, like, oh, Metroid Prime 4. It's coming eventually. Chill. We got Metroid Dread. Play through that bad boy. It's an awesome game. And if you have already played through it in its entirety, and you loved it, play it again. There's nothing saying that you can't play the same game more than once. Play games from your back catalog. Like I said, pick up an indie game. Pick up an online multiplayer game. Learn to play, you know. I know people that are still playing Splatoon 2. Splatoon online. Splatoon 2 is an old game. And yet they're still playing it. Because online multiplayer always changes. You never get two of the same matches. Play some online multiplayer while you wait for the next big Nintendo game. Just chill out. Sit back, relax, and just wait for the games to come out. Nintendo knows what we want, okay? Nintendo knows, I hate to say it, but Nintendo knows what we want. It may not deliver it exactly when we want it, but it always delivers. I can say that new Pokemon Snap released on Nintendo Switch back last year. Right? So I can wholeheartedly say Nintendo knows exactly what I the Nintendo Beast want. They always have, and they always will. That's why I love Nintendo. But you have to have patience, because they're not a studio that's going to crank out crappy games. They're going to wait until the game is perfected, and then they're going to crank it out. People want to complain about Pokemon Legends Arceus because the graphics look like butthole. That's fine too, dude. You know how fun that game is? The game is so fun. So I don't care if the graphics look okay. Alright? They don't have to look great. If the game is playable and it's fun, then the graphics don't have to be stellar. Point blank. That's the end of my rant. Okay? And that's the end of this episode too. I think I'm kind of pissed off. You know what? I'm gonna go sell, I don't know where this kitty bureau came from, but I'm gonna go sell some crap real quick, and then make a payment on my debt, and then we'll go from there. But that's the end of my rant. Cut Animal Crossing New Horizons some slack, cut Nintendo some slack, cut developers some slack in the first place. If it wasn't for people that are like constantly, oh, we need the game now, no more delays, no more delays, no more delays. Let the studios have the time they need to perfect games, guys. There are so many games out there to play in the interim. Let them perfect the games. Cyberpunk 2077, that's the title, that's the year, right? Cyberpunk would not have released as broken as it did if the developers had the proper amount of time and resources to get it done correctly. That's just a fact. The problem is, I don't know if it was necessarily just pressure from the audience, but it was certainly pressure from the studio, or like the studio heads, that were saying, we have a deadline, you need to crank this game out. If the deadline was not pushed so heavily, that game would have been what it is today, back then when it launched, which is a significantly better quality game. I've not even played it yet. I do want to get my hands on it now, though. But that pushiness, that demand for it, is why games come out broken. And Nintendo just isn't willing to do that, and I think that's why people have a problem with them. Because they're not willing to bend at the knee and release games right when we want them, or release updates right when we expect them. Like, they're gonna wait until that is high quality, and it reaches that iconic golden Nintendo seal of quality, and once it's at that level, and only once it is at that level, will they actually release the game. And that's why I love Nintendo. I'm not strictly a Nintendo guy. I probably play more games on Xbox than I do on Switch, quite frankly. It might be about even, actually. But my point is, I'm not just like a stan or a simp for Nintendo. Genuinely, I like Nintendo because of that quality that you can expect. Even the Nintendo Wii U, a dead-on-arrival console. Every documentary I've ever done has labeled the Nintendo Wii U as that, a dead-on-arrival console. Because that's what it is in my head. That's the only way I can label it. But that's not to say that I didn't buy one, and that's not to say that I don't love my Nintendo Wii U. Heck, every week when I play Animal Crossing Wild World on these Let's Plays, I'm playing it on my Nintendo Wii U. I love the Wii U. And the games that released for the Wii U were incredible. They were incredible games. Why do you think they were all ported to the Switch when the Switch came out? Because the Wii U had incredibly quality games. There was just not enough people playing them because the console sold so poorly. And because the marketing was so bad. I'm not saying that Nintendo always knocks it out of the park with marketing. God knows they don't. But at the end of the day, they always release quality games. And that is all I can ask from a publisher and a developer like Nintendo. Point blank, that's just how I feel. There have been Halo games on Xbox that were not as good. In fact, most of them since Halo 3 have been not as good, right? They've been on a bit of a downward spiral depending on who you ask. I love them all, but there are people who would argue against some of the newer ones. Same thing with Gears of War. Same thing, I'm just listing Xbox franchises because those are the ones I know of personally. I'm not a big PlayStation guy. I do intend on getting a PS5 eventually, but that's neither here nor there. My point is, every game franchise has its high points and its low points, right? Sometimes the lows are very low. Nintendo games, there aren't a lot of instances where the low points are really low. There just aren't. There are games that are better than others, obviously, but there are never really deep valleys that Nintendo franchises dip into. It just doesn't exist. But anyway, so that's my rant about why I love Nintendo and why you should shut up. If you're one of those people that just, oh, give me my new game now. Give me Breath of the Wild 2 now. I don't care if it's complete. I'll grumble about it. I'll complain about it when it releases and it is incomplete or it doesn't look the way I feel it should. But I expect you to give it to me now regardless of its current state or condition. Like, if you're one of those people, shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. We don't need to hear it. Chill out. You're going to get your game. And it's going to be, guaranteed. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be an amazing game. But you got to wait for it. Learn some patience. Play some other games in the meantime. And just stop being miserable. Have a good life. Be happy. Cheer up, dude. They're video games. It's not life or death. And this is coming from somebody who spends most of his time from day to day playing video games for both a living, on YouTube, and also just for fun. This is coming from me. Chill out. It's not life or death. They're video games. It's an art form. It's, they're incredible things, but it's not life or death, period. I feel like I'm gonna get some hate for this, but it's fine. With that being said, smash the like button or the dislike button if you really just hated my rant and you feel like everything I said today was incorrect. Smash the dislike button too. It's fine. Engagement is engagement, I guess. But if you agree or you just liked me rambling over some Animal Crossing New Leaf here on 3DS, make sure to smash the like button. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications for when I do live streams here on the channel and when I upload new video content every single weekday. Monday through Friday of every single week. But until next time, I am the Nintendo Beast. Thank you so much for watching.